Hello, my name is Vince Sheehan, and today I'd like to talk about Fred and Rose West, a British horror story, which is a three-part documentary on Netflix at the moment. And I just felt moved to give my thoughts on it, really. Now, who were Fred and Rose West? Well, if you don't know, they were a married couple who lived in Gloucester, a city in the west of England, and over a course of roughly 30 years, from the late 60s to the 90s, they abducted, sexually assaulted and murdered many vulnerable young women. And they even murdered some of their children. And Fred West buried many of the victims in his garden, the property being 25 Cromwell Street in Gloucester. Now, I remember at the time being a teenage boy and, like the rest of the nation, just being completely shocked and outraged at these crimes. Everyone was talking about it, and it was just yet another reminder of how depraved and evil people can be. And this documentary really outlines the events after the arrest of Fred West through police interviews, news footage, police footage of Fred West and the investigators in the garden looking for the bodies, and very importantly, interviews with the police and other professionals involved in the case, as well as the victims' families, which I think is central to this. Now, the first episode focuses on Fred West, his arrest and his interviews with the police concerning these missing women and where their bodies might be, which he reveals in a rather circuitous and dishonest way. And then we move on in the second episode to Rose, how despite Fred's best efforts to protect her from police interest, she is revealed to be every bit as evil as Fred is. Indeed, it seems being very much in the driver's seat, so to speak, in many of the abuse and the murders. And then we come to the trial in the last episode, which was almost derailed due to the suicide of Fred West and the sheer bloody-mindedness of Rose West, of just refusing to accept any responsibility at all. However, eventually she was convicted and is still in prison to this day. So what did I think of this documentary series? I thought it was very effective. I thought it was truly sobering to be reminded of just what the victims must have gone through in these unspeakably hellish circumstances. And to the documentary maker's credit, a lot of the focus is on the victims and their families, which I think are often overlooked in lesser crime documentaries. I think it's very moving to hear how relatives of the victims have tried to cope in subsequent years. And I think what really stuck with me was Marion Partington, who is the sister of Lucy Partington, who's one of the victims, and how it seems through a deep-seated faith and an openness, despite the horrific things which have happened to her, you know, let alone her sister, but to her personally, being left with this trauma, how she has somehow left it open for something good to happen through all this. Through her processing of the trauma and through kind of helping others involved in the case who are similarly traumatised. And I think that was really inspiring to see that in this documentary right at the end. And you need something good to come out of this. Oh my goodness. Because this has to be, I mean, what these two people did just really plumbs the depths of what humankind is capable of. Thank you for watching. Have you seen this? What do you think? And all the best. Bye.